Hey y'all! Today we are doing a reading wrap up for January and February. I originally had planned this to combine my wrap ups for 2 months because some months I don't read as many books, but as I was pulling out all the books I read in January, I realized I don't really remember them. So I'm still trying to work this out, but I think I'll probably just do each month on its own. But for this video, you get January and February rolled into one. So the first book I read was Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone from J.K. Rowling. It is the first Harry Potter book in the series. If you didn't know that, you're living under a rock, or you're like me and you've never read the Harry Potter books. I'm not going to explain what this book is about because everyone knows what Harry Potter is about, but I did do a reading vlog on this, so you should check out that video. The next book I read was The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. It's about this girl named Jess who kind of finds herself in a rough patch and needs to go and stay with her half-brother Ben. When she shows up to Ben's apartment though, he's mysteriously vanished. And so the book is her trying to find out what happened to her half-brother. The kind of cool thing about this book is it's mainly set in this ritzy Paris apartment and it bounces around between the different occupants of the apartment. It is a thriller / mystery book, and I wrote that Jess was kind of an annoying character and I was happy with the ending, and that's about all I wrote about this book. I was definitely intrigued this entire book because I was dying to know what happened to her brother, and I had lots of theories, none of which turned out to be correct. One of my favorite quotes was, "I had forgotten how exciting it could feel to be seen." And yeah, I would say if you haven't read this book, you should give it a read. The next book I read was Going Rogue by Janet Evanovich. This book was so cute. I was a couple pages into it and I was like, wow, this kind of sounds really familiar. And then I realized that the movie One for the Money with Katherine Heigl was based off of these books. This is the 29th one in the series. I have not read any others, but you don't have to read them in order. Like if you just pick this one up, like I did, you won't be like lost or confused or anything. I had so much fun reading this book. It was just a really light read. All of the characters were super cute. Like even like the bad guys I really enjoyed. And everyone was just like so unbothered by everything that would happen. Like buildings blowing up and people were not fazed by it. I reached the second floor and found Sir Lancelot in full costume, standing watch at my door with his new sword at his side. This is like a mystery comedy type book. It's about this lady, Stephanie Plum, who works for her cousin who owns a bail bond agency, so she's a bounty hunter. Somehow they end up with this super valuable coin that these like bad guys are trying to get back, but it goes missing. So Stephanie goes on the hunt to find it since their front office lady has been kidnapped and is being held hostage in exchange for this coin. It was just such a fun book to read, and I think you should grab a copy if you haven't read any of them. The next book I read was A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. And yes, I've fallen on the bandwagon. It took me so long to start reading this. I had only heard good things about it. I don't know why I put it off for so long. I had no idea what it was about before I started reading it, but I am obsessed. I'm in the middle of working on a reading vlog for the whole series, so as soon as that is out, you should definitely check out that video. This is a fantasy book. It's about a girl named Feyre who's out in the woods and she ends up killing a wolf. It turns out the wolf is actually a fairy, and since she killed him, she is dragged into the fairies' world and is forced to live with these fairies that she's grown up fearing, but she soon finds out that not everything she's heard about them is true. And some very, very exciting stuff happens. And there's like a curse and a wicked king from another piece of land. I was about to pass him when he grabbed me, so fast that I didn't see anything until he had pinned me against the wall. The cookie dropped from my hand as he grasped my wrist. "I smelled you," he breathed, his painted chest rising and falling so close to mine. "I searched for you and you weren't there." If that didn't convince you to read this. And of course, after reading the first book, I had to run out and grab the second book, A Court of Mist and Fury, and I was not disappointed with the follow-up to the first book. The vibe totally changes from the first book. Like, it goes somewhere you would never expect it to, but it was so good. Again, you'll have to watch my ACOTAR vlog when that's finally up. I look at you and I feel like I'm dying, like I can't breathe. I'm thinking that I want you so badly I can't concentrate half the time I'm around you. This book is an enemies to lovers as well as a very, very slow burn, and it is worth the burn. Feyre has undergone some changes at the end of the last book, and now she's like trying to navigate her way through them. And they also have the threat of the King of Highburn like looming over their heads. The first book I read in February was The Blood That Binds Us by S.L. Coakley. I just have to give a minute for this cover. I think it's so pretty. She also included a playlist at the beginning of the book, which I just feel like more books should have this. Like, it's the cutest idea ever. I'm obsessed. This is the author's first book, actually. It's the first in a series. I feel like it's apparent that it's her first book, but I really love the concept and her characters are super cute, and I'm really excited to read her next book and just see how her writing changes and grows. This book is about 4 brothers who have been newly turned into vampires, and one of them, whose name is Aaron, has this encounter with a girl named Kimberly at their college, and their lives sort of entangle, and it's them dealing not only with having newly transitioned into a vampire, but things in their past still haunting them. It is a fantasy book. If you are into vampires, I think you should read this book. It was really cute. Aaron was light, and the sun's rays enhanced every one of his features. It reminded me of that early morning feel when I'd wake up in the mountains, the sun catching my skin. It was warm and it woke me up and invigorated every cell in my body. Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I was super caught off guard with how much I loved this book. I had noticed it when it came out and I had wanted to read it, but I never grabbed it for some reason. And then one of my friends was like, you have to read this book. So while we were on vacation, I picked it up and I really loved it. I've read quite a few books like this, just like easy reads, you know, and I'm not always like super impressed with them, but there was something about this one that really got me. Like, a good chunk of the book actually had me laughing out loud. This is like a rom-com book. It's about this literary agent named Nora. She describes herself as the cold-hearted girlfriend in like the Hallmark movie, the one that the boyfriends like go back home to a small town and fall in love with like a down-to-earth woman. And she's the one that they leave for this small town girl. She has this little sister, Libby, who's pregnant and just needs a break from her life, and convinces Nora that they need to go check out this small town and just like have a girls' trip, a mini vacation over the summer break. So they go to Sunshine Falls, North Carolina, which is the main setting for a book that Nora had helped publish. And while they're there, she runs into Charlie, who's this like storm cloudy book editor that she knows from the city. And they have not had good experiences prior to running into each other in Sunshine Falls, but they end up working together on a book project, and I don't know what it is about these two characters, but I'm obsessed with them. It's just like a good feeling book, and I don't like, why do I want to cry just talking about it? If you haven't read this one, I'm sorry, I probably way overhyped it, but you need to read it. Mom's theory was that youthful skin would make a woman more money. True in both acting and waitressing. Good underwear would make her more confident. So far, so true. And good books would make her happy. Universal truth. The next book I read was It Starts With Us with Colleen Hoover. Honestly, I kind of wish I hadn't. I had read the first one and kind of forgot about how much it emotionally scarred me. But the same friend that was like, you have to read Book Lovers, told me I needed to read this one too. So I was like, I loved that one so much. I was like, yeah, I'll read this one too. And I mean, I'm glad I did, because this is Atlas and Lily getting their happy ending. But it brought up a lot of stuff, Ryle, that I just don't love. Anyway, if you have no idea what this book is about, it's about Lily after she got out of her abusive relationship with Ryle, who's now her ex-husband. It's been a year and she runs back into Atlas, which is the old love of her life, and they start to rekindle things, and then they have to figure out how to balance it out because Ryle's not out of her life. They have a baby together, so she has to try and balance that situation with the fact that she's moving on and trying to like have a happy life. The next one I read was People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I 100% picked this book up because I loved Book Lovers so much by her. This one was still really cute. I didn't love it near as much as I did Book Lovers, but again, the characters were really cute. This is about Poppy and Alex, who are best friends. Poppy's like a wild child, while Alex is a more serious, buttoned up reader type. They become friends in college and their paths kind of separated, but they still agreed to get together once a year to go on vacation together. Well, one of their vacation goes horribly wrong and they both wildly miss each other. So 2 years after this horrible vacation, they kind of come back together for one more vacation to see if they can work things out, I guess. It was really cute. I don't have much else to say other than that. I would recommend reading this though. It was like just a nice fun read. Scrolling through image after image of places I'd never been, feeling something like hunger growling in my gut. This makes me want to go on vacation so bad. And the last book I read this month for February was If I Disappear by Eliza Jane Brazier. I really liked this book. It's a thriller. I did not want to put it down because I wanted to know so badly what was going on. I will say I was a little disappointed with the ending. I just wasn't satisfied with how it ended. But if you read this or read this, I'm curious of what you think about the ending. It's about this girl named Sarah who loves true crime podcasts. Don't we all? And one of her favorites is hosted by this girl named Rachel who ends up disappearing. So Sarah's like takes it upon herself to try and track Rachel down and find out what happened to her. Rachel lives on this ranch with her parents in the middle of nowhere. And the closest thing to this ranch is this teeny tiny hometown, and Sarah goes there, ends up working on the ranch, looking for any information she can as what happened to Rachel. Everyone's a little crazy in this book and she can't seem to find any answers. Nobody seems to be concerned about the fact that Rachel has up and gone missing. It was a super exciting book. Again, I wasn't satisfied with the ending. There was a couple other things that happened that I was just really upset about, but I still had a really fun time reading this book. That is everything I read in January and February. If you've read any of those books, I'd love to hear what you think down below. And if you haven't read all of them, hopefully this has encouraged you to pick some of those up and start reading them. Also, if you have any book recommendations, please let me know. I'm always looking for a new book to read. Follow me on Instagram if you don't already. I'll always let you know if there's any changes to my upload schedule, but otherwise, I'll see you guys next Wednesday.